think that'll work. Okay, I got this header. This is a truck header. I got it used, as you can tell. Needs a little bit of cleaning up. It had that old flange in there with a gasket in there, and I just don't like those, so that's why I cut the flange off. And I had the local exhaust shop make the little ball connector on there and swell it so that I can put that on there, right? So this right here, I already had this X pipe made up right here for another vehicle. That fits right in there beautifully. So that's kind of what we're doing here. This right here was a pipe. I cut it in half. It was swelled on both ends. Had that done I don't know how long ago, and finally using it. And I'm going to use this as a collector extension. Not that way. I'll put it in that way, and then the ball connector will go on like that, right? So that's the idea. This is going to get trimmed down a little bit because a lot of headers, they don't set even, and this is what you see on the X pipe here. One sets a little higher than the other, right? If we have it squared up. So I'll have the headers on, have those kind of mocked up like what you already saw there, and I'll have these up on jack stands roughly where they need to be in the truck, and I'll mark wherever I need to trim this extension down to get this to fit up right. And then from there, I will cut these down wherever I need them to put the mufflers on, which it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall, it's gonna wait for me to get underneath it, then it's gonna fall. This is what I'm gonna go with the muffler. This is, you can see there, a muffler. It come off like a Dodge Challenger V8 manual, I think, because this is a 2.5 inch pipe right here. So it's just a hair bigger than 2.5. It's metric, you know, we can't be, you know, American units anymore in America. So I'll get that welded on there, all that good stuff. That'll match up to the 2.5 inch X pipe setup that I have there. And that's the other adjustment I'll have once it's up in the truck. Hey, where does it need to be? Where does it need to be to, you know, hang, and start cutting things and adjusting it from there. But that's what I got going on for the exhaust system. Collector extensions. So that's something that if you look at DV's Hot Rod magazine or book that he has, he did some testing on there. There's no mathematical calculation of you need this much whatever collector extension. He took the header like essentially one of these right here with the shorter extension. He said he tested a 4-inch extension, right? Added 12 inches to it for 18-inch total extension. Got almost 40 horsepower rear wheel horsepower or torque, and 12 horsepower off of that, adding that much extension. Now that's a tune thing. So to really do it and get it dialed in for my engine, like what we was talking about before, you know, I'll need to make sure I'm running the manifold I want, the carburetor I want, everything on the engine is tuned in exactly the way I want it. And then we got the collector extension and all that stuff, and okay, we're gonna try this, and then we're gonna dyno it with this, and we're gonna dyno it with this, and we're gonna dyno, you know, do that like 10 times to figure out which one makes the best power. That's a lot of dyno sessions and a lot of cutting and everything on there. So unless you're set up to do that, you just kind of, well, you know, I just try it and see, right? I mean, I guess I could have dynoed it before and after, but yeah, I want the thing running. I'm not here to play dyno games and what's the most best optimist power I can make out of it, right? If that's the case, I wouldn't have those heads on there, and I wouldn't have that cam in there, right? And I wouldn't be running a 904. Okay, I promised I would tell y'all what these are. That's a little check valve. So what happens, let me get recombobulated here. You can see in there that's at a 45-degree angle. That's that pipe that sits down in there. And what happens when the exhaust flows past through here, it pulls a vacuum on this piece. And this is a check valve to make sure things don't go back up that way. So your drawdown vacuum here, that goes up to your valve covers, where your PCV and your the little thing that goes into the breather, you have two of them because you have one on each header, right? That comes up there, and that provides a vacuum on the valve covers, which gives you a vacuum in the engine. So it's kind of like your poor man's vacuum pump. This is the crankcase evacuation kit right here. So some of y'all might have guessed that. Actually, I'm pretty sure some of y'all guessed that, but for those of you who don't know, that's kind of an old school mod right there. Not super friendly on street because it will suck the oil right out of your engine. Looks a whole lot better, doesn't it? Not perfect, but it's old. Okay, so now I'm ready to put this on the truck and start getting some measurements. So this was a little too long, that setup right there. I did a little bit of digging and I couldn't find any real good definite answers on how to do it, which, you know, like what I was saying, it's, you know, start with this and then you go this and, you know, and dyno each run. So the number I come up with is, yes, what I got right now is too long. I'm going to go with 3 times the cylinder volume, which for my 365, because it's a 30 over 360, which I don't think that's going to make any difference in the calculation. That comes out to 20 inches of a 3-inch collector is 3 times the cylinder volume, roughly. So having not enough collector definitely is going to hurt. How much is too much? I don't know. I figure 3 times is good enough because that means 3 cylinders can fit within this extension right here before it goes to the reducer, which that will start to pulse wave, and well, I'm not going to do the math on that. Okay, so how did I get to that? Just in case you're wondering for your application, if you want to replicate what I did, let's just, are you ready for it? Jump into the math and equations. Okay, here's my Excel spreadsheet that I use to calculate my 3 times collector to cylinder volume. So to start out with, we have the bore right there. I just punched in the number, 4 inches and 30 over, which it doesn't matter. We put 4 in there and we see it doesn't change anything there. And I know what the stroke is. So on the bore, I need to get it to a radius. So over here, it's just diameter over 2. And then I get the area, which is just pi r squared. We can just look into the little top up here. We see what that calculation is there. Just let it do the math. And then the area times the stroke, which we just found the area, right, times our stroke over here. You can also, if you know your cubic inches, just divide it by 8. That's just doing 1 cylinder. Okay, so that's part 1. Part 2 is, I know my collector is 3 inches. I didn't know 20 to start out with. That's what I'm trying to find, right? I'm just comparing this number to get that number right there. So as an example, we'll just put 1 in there. it's only 0.2, so okay, let's try 5. All right, 55. Oh, way too much. So you just play with that to get there. There's also some tools in here that you can use, Gold Seek, to find that as well, which is what I used. We know the same thing. We got a 3-inch collector. It's radius 1.5. We get our area, and then this is what we're calculating right here, 141, and comparing that 141 to our 45 up here, right? And that's how we get our ratio. It's comparing these right here together. All right, that's it. That's how I did the math on it. Super simple. All right, got it tacked on good enough. Now I'll get it out on the bench where I can actually work on it and get it welded together. This is kind of the ugly one. If you see, it is actually coming in a little bit, and it's because that X-pipe was already made, and it's made for a car. That's set right there. You got to get it tacked in the way you can get it tacked in, so you can get it out and then weld it, because I know you welder types out there. You nice pretty table and comfy chair and all this lighting, $10,000 welder, and man, I do some pretty welds. You know what I'm talking to. Anyways, in real life, you're like me underneath the vehicle with stuff that don't quite match up right and gaps and everything going, just try to reach it. But anyways, I'm gonna get this welded up. Okay, let's look at some good and bad. Over here, down all the way through there, it's pretty good. There you can see the heat coming in through and all that, and the weld it's kind of in there, right, instead of being on top. I have my welder turned up on setting 2, minimum 2 instead of minimum 1. This is minimum 1, rather. This is on minimum 2 up here, and you can see, well, that's kind of one of my tack welds. Let's get this rotated around. Let's see if I can burn my hand or something. But you can see the difference. This is all minimum 1 down through there, right? Looking a lot better. And when I'm on this side, and here, that was on minimum 2, and it's just too much down and through there. So I'll go through and maybe do a little bit of grind on there and fill in these little holes like that. That way, because I want it to look like up in here much better. Just a good, nice, smooth weld through there instead of all this built up gunk like that, right? But overall, pretty good. That'll work. It is on there now, so now it's just going in and refining it and hoping and praying that this is in the right position for that X-pipe. See, I'm doing the messed up side. This is what I'll call the messed up side over here. I'm doing it first because it's more critical. Okay, here we are. Got this all done right here. Might have a couple little spots too. As it slides away from us. Might have a couple little spots like that to come back and touch up. But overall, pretty good. This is kind of hard because I had 2 of them to weld, and there was lots of gaps as far as diameter to diameter, right? So that's why you see these little bumps. I went over, what I ended up doing is going over an edge to build a little bit up and close the gap, and then I come back over again to fill it up. So that's why you see slobbers like this right here and some of this stuff right there in there, right? But I think it's almost sealed, other than maybe that little spot right there. I'm gonna go over it again and just tack up some of those. This header, you saw me cleaning this up. Once this cools down real good, I'm gonna clean it thoroughly, do the high heat primer on there and high heat paint over this whole thing. If I have enough, I should have enough. And I still need to clean the other header, but it's up on there now. Test fit, it looks good. Before I paint it, I'm going to make sure I test fit it, so once it cools off, I'll probably do that and then go into the make it look pretty phase of this. Okay, here we go. Final mock-up. Right here. Down to there, that's connected. Going to there. See our X-pipe in there. Not perfectly centered, but you know, this is done at home. As you can see on my back, going to the muffler, coming out with a little bit of a dump right there. So, not hitting anything. Got both of them in right there. What I'll probably do is come through and clean all this up real good. I want to come and clean all these old welds up real good, get some high heat primer paint, you know, whatever on it, and get this looking real good before I put it on.